For decades, the partnership between India and Russia has been this constant in a world that's always changing. It's a relationship that was really built on a shared history and, well, strategic goals. But what happens when the very ground beneath a friendship like that starts to shift? This time-tested relationship is facing some of its biggest challenges ever, and we're going to dig into what that means for both of them and for the rest of us.
So let's rewind a bit. The modern story really kicks off back in 2000 when they signed the Declaration of Strategic Partnership, and now we're right on the doorstep of its 25th anniversary. But this isn't just about celebrating a milestone, right? It's a critical moment to stop and ask, has this partnership actually delivered on its promise? And more importantly, what does its future even look like?
Okay, so what's the secret sauce here? What's kept this partnership so resilient for so long? It's way more than just some old treaties and handshakes. There are some really solid, concrete pillars holding this relationship up. Let's take a closer look at what they are.
Now, you've probably heard that India is trying to buy weapons from all over the place. Diversifying, they call it. But even with all that, look at this. Russia still makes up a whopping 36% of India's arms imports. That tells you everything you need to know. Defense is, without a doubt, the bedrock of this whole relationship. But here's the thing, and it's really important to get this. This is not just a simple, you pay, we give you weapons kind of deal anymore. This partnership has evolved. It's matured. We're talking about deep collaboration, joint research, and actually building some of the world's most advanced military tech together. And just look at some of the big ones. That S-400 air defense system, that's an absolute game changer, giving India this incredible protective shield in the sky. Then you've got the BrahMos cruise missile. That's not something India just bought off the shelf. They developed it together. It's a world-class piece of tech. Add in regular joint military exercises, and you see this is about being deeply woven together, strategically. It's way beyond a simple transaction.
And it's not just about military stuff, not by a long shot. When it comes to energy, Russia's a huge player for India, supplying a ton of its crude oil and working together on nuclear power. On the economic front, they've got these really ambitious trade targets they're trying to hit. And, on the global stage, Russia's support for India at the UN Security Council, that's a massive deal.
Okay, but here's where it gets complicated, because even the strongest foundations can get cracks. And right now, this partnership is sailing into some pretty serious headwinds that are testing just how strong it really is.
Wow. Yeah, this chart really tells the story, doesn't it? The trade between them is just incredibly lopsided. I mean, look at those numbers. India brought in almost $64 billion worth of stuff from Russia, mostly oil, but only sent back less than $5 billion in exports. That is a massive, massive gap, and it's causing real friction.
So, what's the big deal with this imbalance? Well, it all comes down to the money. A lot of this trade is done in Indian rupees. So now, Russia is sitting on these huge piles of rupees in Indian banks. But, and this is a big but, they can't really spend those rupees on the international market. This has created what everyone's calling the rupee surplus problem. And believe me, it's a huge headache for Moscow.
And the problems aren't just about money. If you look at the world map, you can see their paths are really starting to split. On one hand, you have India getting closer and closer to the West. Think about its role in the Quad. On the other hand, Russia is all in on its no-limits friendship with China. They're even doing military drills with Pakistan. I mean, these two countries are starting to move in completely different strategic orbits.
So all of this, it puts India in a super tricky spot. It's like they're walking this diplomatic tightrope, trying to keep their balance while being pulled in opposite directions by friends who don't exactly get along.
So, the big question is, how on earth does India pull this off? How do you stay good friends with both Moscow and Washington when those two are increasingly at odds? Honestly, the answer to that pretty much defines India's entire foreign policy today.
Well, it really comes down to a three-part strategy. First up is something they call strategic autonomy. The basic idea is we make our own calls based on what's best for India, period. No outside pressure. Second, they believe in flexible alliances, meaning they're not going to get locked into any single camp. And third, they use these big international clubs like BRICS and the SCO to try and be the grown-up in the room, building bridges between the big powers.
And this quote just nails it, doesn't it? It's saying that through its quiet, smart diplomacy, India isn't just watching from the sidelines. It's become this essential bridge connecting the global south with all these competing superpowers.
So after all that, where does this leave the India-Russia relationship?
With all these challenges and this crazy balancing act, one thing is crystal clear. The partnership has to change. It can't just be business as usual. It has to adapt if it's going to survive, let alone thrive in this new world.
So what's the game plan? Well, to keep this relationship strong, they've got some real work to do. First, they absolutely have to fix that lopsided trade. Getting a free trade agreement signed would be a massive win. They also have to start working together on new stuff, like AI and cybersecurity. And maybe the most important thing of all, they have to really build up that trust to get through all these geopolitical shifts.
And that really brings us to the final big picture question. This friendship was born in the 20th century, a time when the world was basically split into two camps. The question now is, can that old friendship actually make it in the messy, complicated, multipolar world of the 21st century? How they answer that? Well, that's going to shape not just their own futures, but the geopolitical landscape for years to come.